what we're finding is that all the time, every time that we cut a tax, we have no income tax for elderly. So if you've got retirement income, no income tax in the state of Iowa. We have simplified corporate tax. But every time we do this, our revenues continue to grow. Our revenues continue to increase, and so that's what we're finding is now we're just trying to find out how low can we go, and we may do another tax bill next year.
Hello and welcome to the ALEC 51st annual meeting here in Denver, Colorado. Right now, I'm joined by Iowa Representative John Wills.
Thank you for having me.
Love having you on. You've been very active with ALEC all throughout the years, or at least throughout my year and a half here. Love having you here. And today we're actually going to hear from your governor, Kim Reynolds, and talking about the work that she has done, that legislators like yourself have done there in Iowa when it comes to universal education freedom.
Right. I think it's very important. The education freedom bill that we did a few years ago was a bill that I ran. It took me 3 years to finally get it across the finish line. The governor helped with that. But it's so important that parents have the ability to have control of where their kid goes to school, not just because they're in a zip code that they have to go to the school of that zip code. It puts parents back in charge of their kids' education.
Yeah, and I've heard one of the problems, one of the stumbling blocks that you guys have run into in Iowa is just that it's so popular that it seems like it's the trouble is trying to manage getting everybody in and out to the right places that they want to go.
Yeah, so we estimated the first year about 14,000 students. We had over 29,000 people apply that first year, double what we thought. And actually, it ended up about 18,000 qualified because of some economic stipulations we put on there. We phased it in over 3 years, and so that first year, some income limits were there, and so some of the people that applied just didn't qualify that first year. A lot of them qualified this year.
Yeah.
Next year, everybody's eligible, and so we have about 30,000 kids right now on education savings accounts, exercising their freedom to have their kids go to the school of their choice and being taught what the parent wants to be taught and not what the public school thinks they should be taught.
And it's mind-boggling for me to think about, the days that I grew up. Mom used to walk me into class the first week of school and meet with my teacher, or she get a little bit older. Well, in high school she didn't talk with my teachers, but in elementary school they come in and meet. And every now and then she would be one of those parents that would sit in the back of the classroom, one to help, one to watch over me and make sure that I didn't get, I think the key word back then was hyperactivity. But then you also to find out exactly what is going on in the school. And Lord knows that was back in the 70s. I just revealed my age, but that was back in the 70s. And, there was more of moms working or staying at home and not necessarily working. So there was more time for that to happen. And I guess today that didn't really happen all that much until we hit COVID and people got to see what was actually going on.
Yeah, moms and dads would be sitting at home watching what the teacher was teaching on Zoom and so forth. Thankfully for Iowa, we forced the schools to reopen. I think they were closed about 3 months. And then we said, that's enough of this. Kids are going back to school. But in other states, those parents, Virginia would be the perfect example that the parents wanted change because they were seeing what was happening. In fact, one of the things that the teachers in my district, teachers that I talk to, they're just really disgusted about the education savings account. They're like, it's taking away students from my classroom and taking away money from my public school. And I always respond and say, shouldn't the money follow the student and not just be the schools just because? But more importantly, isn't it so great that parents are actually involved in their kids' education again? Parents are actually paying attention. And of course they're like, well, yeah, we'll take the parents being involved in their kids' education, but we need to keep the money. It's always all about the money.
Well, the thing that I always found interesting about the money side of it all, and I'm guessing this is right for Iowa. If not, then this is more of a overall national type thing. But the money that you guys are taking and allocating and giving to the parents to follow the kids, that's the state money.
It's taxpayer money.
Yeah, but it's this from the state because the schools are also funded by local taxes.
Correct.
And those local taxes, that money stays there.
Yeah.
So if, say, the state of Iowa is spending $8,000 per student, and the local counties are spending $2,000, and you take that $8,000 and move it over to a private school, they still could keep those $2,000s because so they're actually spending more per pupil now if they take advantage of the program.
You're exactly 100% correct. So we spend about $7,200 per student of state money
Okay.
in Iowa. In reality, the amount of money that each student in Iowa, and every state's different, so don't use this as gospel for every state, but every student in Iowa has a price tag of $17,000. And so there's $10,000 of federal and local money that goes in conjunction. Well, the schools get to keep most of that $10,000.
Right.
When that student goes to another school, on a private school. So what I have told people is what's going to happen is that public school is going to have about the same amount of money, less kids, and so they can concentrate on the kids that they have. The private school already has proven that they're doing a good job teaching those kids and doing the teaching according to what the parents want. And so I think what we're going to see is we're going to, the tide's going to lift both boats rather than just one boat.
Yeah, that'd be the overall thing. It's because I have less overall work, more funds to concentrate on. And I mean, Lord knows, one of the biggest issues that we do have with the public school system is that the classrooms are packed, the teachers are overworked. And if this makes things a little bit easier and allows them to spend more per student, It sounds like a win-win for both sides.
Well, and studies are showing that in states that have done education savings accounts or school choice, I'll just call it that, that public schools and private schools have both improved, steadily gained scores and made the students better.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, also, I know that Iowa's also been working on cutting up cutting up their taxes a little bit more, giving a little bit more relief to the people.
So this is my 10th year in the legislature. One of the reasons that I went to the legislature is because our tax code in Iowa was just atrocious, and so I wanted, and one of the model policies of the things that I like about ALEC is we have tax policy. We have a lot of resources here that talks about taxes and how to reduce taxes, how to make your tax code simpler. And so I have been working through ALEC with the state of Iowa to simplify our tax code. And so 4 years ago, we went to a flat tax. We lowered the tax down to 3.9% from a high rate of 8.9%.
Wow.
But that wasn't going to take effect until it was going to start taking effect next year because we wanted to spread it out over a number of years. Well, every year since then, we've done more tax policy. This year, we actually passed that our tax cut is going to fully implement next year, not just be phased in, and we're going to 3.8%. And what we're finding is that every time that we cut a tax, we have no income tax for elderly. So if you've got retirement income, no income tax in the state of Iowa. We have simplified corporate tax. But every time we do this, our revenues continue to grow. Our revenues continue to increase. And so that's what we're finding is now we're just trying to find out how low can we go. And we may do another tax bill next year. But I think we'll have to wait a little bit and see, just make sure that take the conservative approach and see how our tax cuts that we've already implemented do. And then from there, we can start looking at more further tax cuts.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing when you see it. Only because we saw the same thing happen nationally. Everybody was freaking out with the 2017 tax, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. They're like, oh my gosh, there's going to be so much less revenue. It's like, no, actually, we're going to drown you in the whole thing.
Quite honestly, I mean, people, they get this extra money in their paycheck that they didn't expect. Most of them are going to spend that money, and it's just going to invigorate the economy and make the economy continue to grow. So it's trickle-down economics or whatever you want to call it, but it works.
Yeah, but it's instead of a weekend hunting trip, it's a week-long hunting trip.
Yeah.
Instead of the 30-inch TV, it's the 60-inch TV. I mean, there's a little bit of something. The consumer economy, you just keep the money rolling along.
Or you know what? We don't get to go out for pizza very often, so we're going to go out for pizza once a week. Whatever that family issue is or situation is, it's going to make them better.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, and so sort of like put a bow on things. You were also talking about something that you guys are doing with the on the homeless side, on the baking side, of baking in the homeless. What exactly was that on it?
So a few years ago, I worked on a new, it's actually ALEC model policy on freedom for small businesses to operate within their home and within their living area. And so what we did was look at kind of preempting local ordinances that say you can't have a business of any kind in your home. And so what we did was, and there's still a reason for state government, and one of those reasons is to allow people to have the freedom to operate and do things in their home that it's their private property. They should be able to operate. And so the bill says that you can operate a business in your home as long as it's conducive with that neighborhood. So if you've got a business that you're continually pounding metal and like maybe an auto body shop, and every neighbor's like, what's going on? That's not conducive.
You can't have a skeet range in the backyard.
Right. But if you got a home baking business,
yeah,
and you want to bake baked goods and then sell them from your home, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's not disrupting anybody else in the neighborhood. And so what we saw in Iowa is that we were having cities and counties prohibiting those kind of things, doing ordinances against those kind of things. And you know what? We should never be inhibiting entrepreneurs,
discouraging
their thing. So we should only be encouraging that. And so we've really found that we've got a lot of niche businesses now, especially hometown, small towns. Iowa's got a lot of small towns, maybe small towns of 200 people where they don't have a restaurant. They don't have a place for people to go. Now it's this house down the street.
You go over to Maggie's
and they've got this home business, and you go in and you have your coffee. You have coffee with your buddies and
got the mac and cheese and the biscuits and it's a great little afternoon.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
So that's I call it food freedom because you can also you can do all kinds of things, and primarily these businesses have been and are food related businesses, and so there's a lot of regulation about, well, if you've got a food business, we got to have a regulator come in and we got to take your temperature of your food, and we got it, and that owner has to pay for that inspection. Yeah. Well, some of this, can't we as citizens make the decision if we want to go to that business, and it may not have had the same inspections and same. So,
well, you would think that if you're going to apply the rules to something like that, then am I going to have to get a license for the potluck dinner that we're having over there? Because
exactly. And that's where it's going, or that's where it was going, but no more with food freedom. We opened it up, and again, model policy at ALEC is one of the key things. Some of my best bills that I've passed in the state of Iowa have been ALEC model policies, and it's a resource that every legislator has the availability to just go on the website and say, you know what, I got a problem in my state with X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to check ALEC website and say, type in X, Y, and Z, and on a model policy pops up, and now all of a sudden I got a starting place. It may not perfectly fit my state, but I got a starting place that I can adjust this and fit it to my state. It's a great system.
It's a perfect little thing. Wow. All the things that you guys are going, you know, less on the regulations, less on the taxes, and all of a sudden people are happier. Who'd have thought?
Well, yeah, and our state is one of the best states as far as coming out of COVID and coming out of the kind of this, I think we've been in a recession, but our citizens are the best in the nation as far as having money available for emergencies and so forth. Just we have the availability and we have the resources available because some of these policies that we've implemented have been good for our average citizen.
Well, yeah, I've got some friends out there in Iowa, Brian, Roy, Lauren, and I'm sure that I'm going to hear about this, especially with the home business side of things, because these are people who are innovators, and innovation isn't just for the tech world. No. It's on every industry that we have out there, and it's great to see that the people of Iowa are embracing that overall concept. So, John, appreciate you coming on, sitting down with us here at the ALEC 51st Annual Meeting in Denver, Colorado.
Thank you very much.